My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back, everybody, to another week of Duck Dogs. I am Josh Miller, and I am here today with a very impromptu podcast. Whitney is here with me, and we are literally in the middle of whelping out a litter of puppies. And so I thought it'd be really neat to kind of jump in the middle of this and kind of talk through, what's been going on. Let's talk about this litter. And I don't know if you can hear the little squeals in the background, but this is literally live as we're doing this. So there may be some things that come up during this podcast, but kind of neat and kind of different. So before we get going, I better give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is what we feed our dogs here at the house and here at the kennel. Thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka is, I'm literally, I think, head to toe in Sitka right now. It is my absolute favorite clothing, not only in the field, but it's turned into my favorite everyday wear as well. And also for women. I have to give that shout out because I love my Sitka gear. That's right. That's great. Thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck has the 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in intermediate and in large. So it is by far the safest way for your dog to travel. So go check them out. And thank you to our good friends at Gun Dog Supply. GunDogSupply.com is your one-stop shop for all of your training and hunting needs as we go into training season. Make sure you go get your tools early because, last year it seemed like everything in every industry was short on stock. So make sure to stock up. So www.gundogsupply.com. So, Whit, thank you for letting me kind of jump in here. I know this was not planned, but I thought this would be really neat to just kind of talk through this litter, kind of how this whelping has gone, and kind of just fill us in here as we are literally in the middle of doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is our Daphne and Brock litter, which I'm really excited about. Daphne is an offspring from Annie and Bud, and I'm really excited to see what these puppies are like, having some Bud in them and then having Brock in them. And you trained Annie, so you and I worked a lot on who we should breed Daphne with, and we thought Brock would be a great selection. So I'm excited to see what these puppies are all about once they become of age to go through training with you. But so Daphne, she is a small little black female, and she was actually the only female in her litter. So I made sure to place her with someone that I was able to do a breeding contract with because, I don't want to let a really great breeding like that just slip through my fingers. Mm-hmm. So we've been waiting a long 2 years for this moment of her to have her puppies. And the reason I say 2 years is because we wanted to make sure she passed her OFA hip and elbow testing along with all of her genetic testing. And then, of course, making sure she goes through all of her training with you and get your stamp of approval on breeding her, which clearly you did since we brought her to Brock. So is there anything you wanted to go through with her training or anything like that before I get into the whelping?
Yeah, I guess not really, except for the fact that a lot of times people will ask about the females, about the girls, and how we kind of go through that selection. And, for us, it is important that I'm able to train and work with, the dogs myself. Not all of them. I personally get to work all the way through a finished dog level just because of the fact that sometimes owners want to do the work themselves. Sometimes owners, quite frankly, don't need or want that level out of their dog. And so I don't always get to see these dogs to advance. I'd love for all of them to, but I also understand and respect that, the owners have, their own wishes, and, to go through all the way through a finished dog, that's a huge, commitment. And so I have to do a lot of my understanding and a lot of my evaluation, early on. But I like that because, I do get to see what is natural, in these dogs, versus, what is trained in. But I want to see the ceiling. I want to see how, not every dog is capable of being an elite dog. Not every dog is capable of being that top end. So I like to see the whole spectrum. But yeah, Daphne was very, very natural off the very front end.
A lot like her mom, Annie.
Yeah, I mean, great temperament, great natural mouth, great natural retrieve, big motor, great off switch. I mean, she had a great personality. A lot of things you just can't teach. And so I'm excited about this because, like you said, Bud being her dad, being her dad, and now you pair Bud, who we adore, with the Brock side of things. And I just think there's some really neat things, that can kind of come out of this. And so this is the fun part about having the line, that we have is, you start training all the moms and all the dads, and now at this point, we're training grandpa and grandma, and it's just really neat to kind of see the progression here as we go through this and what it looks like and what we're able to produce. And it's prideful, you get a really large sense of pride, going through this. So tell me about this whelping, how things have gone so far. What do we have so far? What are we looking forward to? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So Daphne here, she put me on a little bit of a wild ride here the last 24 hours because her estimated due dates were the 17th through the 20th. Today is the 17th. Now, they're estimated, right? So that doesn't mean she couldn't go a day early or she couldn't go a day late. And yesterday she started to give me signs of being in early labor, and those signs were that she had stopped completely eating. She wanted nothing to do with food, which is not like her. But it's very common when these females are approaching their due dates. And then she started to do a little bit of a heavy panting, and their bodies kind of go into this little shiver. And so I was like, okay, these are, 3 signs that she's going into early labor. I'm going to keep an eye on her. The one major sign that didn't happen is her temp didn't drop. So females, their temp is typically in like the 99s, and they usually will drop into the low 98s. Well, hers dropped as low as 98.8, which isn't as low as I'm used to it seeing. But all of this is, it can happen or it couldn't happen. So just by those 3 other signs, I was like, okay, I think we're going to have puppies today, So I adjust my schedule accordingly so I can make sure that I'm with Daphne this entire time. Well, and then all these signs come to a screeching halt. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so now what are we going to do? So now it's bedtime. And I'm like, I need to keep an eye on her in case she were to start delivering these puppies throughout the night. So what do? I set my alarm clock for every 45 minutes to wake up, look on the Nest camera, go to the puppy nursery, and keep an eye on her. Now, luckily, she did not deliver in the night, so I got to sleep for increments of 45 minutes. But what she did start doing was another sign of going into labor, which was nesting. She was nesting a lot, and that's a very natural thing for these dogs to do, which is to create little nests for their puppies to be delivered in. Then this morning we got up, we went for a walk, and she delivered her first puppy at 8:30 a.m. And it was a huge puppy. For how little Daphne is, this was a huge puppy. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. We're going to have to call Josh in for reinforcements here to pull puppies out. But luckily, Daphne has had a flawless whelping of her litter. We currently have 6 puppies, and she should start working on the next one here. But her puppies have actually been a lot bigger than I expected, which is great. On the puppy count x-rays, which we do about a week before they're whelping, you really can't get a sense of how big these puppies are And the way that we know how many puppies to expect is we count skulls and spines. And I don't know if you follow us on Instagram, I showed you their puppy count x-rays, and this one puppy, it's incredible, but this one puppy had its neck kinked so incredibly crazy that it's one of those times where you're like, okay, do I go into this whelping expecting maybe a puppy to be stillborn or something to be wrong with a puppy? But when you think about these puppies, they're just like a little bundle of cartilage, and they can really twist and turn a lot of ways and still be very, very healthy. And that's what we have experienced so far in this whelping.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of fun looking at all these little balls of fur here as they start nursing. One thing that I've always found incredible is the natural instinct, not only from Daphne, being a first-time mom, right?
Yep.
But how incredible is it that these puppies come out and immediately can nurse?
Like literally immediately.
It is unbelievable.
And how about the fact that they're born with their eyes and ears shut, and they still know how to find mom and how to find the nipples?
Like we're looking at the little black. I don't know if it's a boy or girl with not being able to see from here, little girl.
Yep.
I mean, she's looks like a little groundhog, or something like that, and she's literally burrowing her way through her brothers and sisters to find a nipple. Like, I mean, just how? Like how do these puppies know? How do they know how to eat, where to find the food? I mean, that puppy right now is literally hunting for a nipple. is absolutely incredible to watch this. So one thing that I always think I take for granted, just because I've been around you so much doing this, is the detail in which you keep as you go along. So I'm looking at an open computer. I'm looking at a clipboard with a lot of notes. Like on this clipboard, this particular page, I see, each time, section for a time. So each puppy was born, which I think this is kind of interesting. So I have 8:30, 9:53, 11:07, 11:32, 12:10, and 12:45. So fairly spread out, but not. I mean,
she's actually going really quick, I think.
Yeah, I was
a lot of times there's like an hour, sometimes 2 hours between puppies. And what's interesting about Daphne's whelping is that usually they start out fast and then they take longer as they progress. Just because mamas are getting tired, the puppies are further up, so she has to work further down. I think she's going to start contracting. But her times are actually going faster, which I love. And the puppies have been delivered really, really easy as time goes on. So I think it's just her body understanding what it's going through with each puppy. It's just repetition and repetition. Do you see her contracting?
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. And the reason that I keep track of the time is because when you're whelping a litter, I mean, time actually flies by. Although there can be hours between puppies, the times go by so fast because you're so caught up in everything that's going on, making sure the puppies are good, making sure mama's good, that 3 hours can pass by really fast. And when you get to that 3-hour mark, you kind of get a little concerned at, okay, is this puppy, why isn't she contracting? Is she tired? Is it a stillborn puppy that's not moving, so she's not contracting? What's going on? And even at that point, then you may give a mama some oxytocin, and you have to write that down. Okay, how much did you give her and at what time, and how did she react to that? And so making sure that you keep track of everything that goes on during a whelping is important. And another thing is that when we're breeding these females multiple times, now next year when we breed Daphne, I can look at this chart and say, okay, she had a really easy whelping. Maybe next time she has something, a 3-hour time frame that I can be like, well, this was not going on last whelping, so why is it going on this whelping? And you can really start to create a history that way. Even like I said, actually, I think I posted it on our Instagram story. Daphne, when we first started, she was sitting and contracting. And I remember Annie, her mom, was the exact same way. So even something as simple as how they go into their labor to how they're contracting, whether they're standing, they're sitting, they're walking, they're laying, it actually carries on through generation to generation. And it's cool to be able to keep track of all of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to go through the rest of your sheet here, but I do notice that she is contracting. So this could go on for some time, right? It could happen very quickly. So, full disclosure, we don't know how this is going to go. We never do. So, if for some reason we have to jump off, quickly, if something happens, if we feel like a puppy is stuck or we feel something is going on, we'll obviously jump off of this and have our undivided attention on Daphne and the situation. But hopefully everything goes smoothly, and it's it'd be the last puppy, right?
Yep.
From this litter.
Well, maybe. I mean, there could always be a bonus puppy in there, which I never mind.
Right, for sure. So, one of the things that I think is so interesting is, like you talked about, the detail and the history of each female. Like you're seeing similarities not only in litter to litter that they have, but even the genetic traits of mom was like this, and now you're showing signs like this. It's really, really interesting. It seems like these contractions are getting.
What you guys will notice is Josh is like, he gets on pins and needles, and I'm just like sitting here keeping my cool. Like
this is she does this all the time, where I usually just get called in when there's emergencies. So I'm always a little bit more like, oh, what's going on here? But these contractions are definitely getting stronger. I completely lost my train of thought here, but so not only the time in which they were born, but you have different like color and sex, and was the placenta retained, thrown, or did mom eat it? And you have a note section, notes on each puppy. So you have a note here that the first one was a very big puppy. And I mean, just it's so interesting to me the detail that goes into it, because I think people that do this as a hobby, or people that maybe do this, I'm going to say semi, professionally. I would even say people that probably do this professionally. When you aren't this detailed, when things go wrong, you cannot. It's much more difficult to track it back and to figure out, was there a rhyme or reason to it? Like, we're trying to put as much detail behind this at all, and I appreciate the detail you put into it, because that's how I go about my business on the training side of it. I love writing things down. I love going back to things. I love being able to refer, because you don't remember. Like, there's just no way to remember all the details that go into each dog, each training session, each whelping, each puppy, right? There's just so much to it.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. The other thing that you note, that you talked about, that I think is really important, is there was a big contraction. Is the X-ray.
Yeah.
So we have had people ask so why do you do the X-rays? It is, I think so much of this comes down to when people ask these questions, especially if they're breeding, it's a cost thing, right? And my goodness, like, I don't know how many kids our vet is going to have. She just had her first one, right? Rhiannon just had.
She's going to in May. Yeah.
Oh, going to. But I'm sure we're putting all of those kids through college just ourselves, with the vet bills that we end up accruing.
It's funny you say that, because I got invited to her baby shower, and they go, that you're like our family here, so we wanted to invite you to her baby shower too. Like, this is no longer just a business transaction with us. Like, they are literally like there for me 24/7, and I hope to do the same with them. And you just create these amazing relationships through these puppies. Oh, she's gonna have it.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
That's perfect. But the reason I was saying that is that to do this the way that we feel is right, there is a lot of cost that goes into this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And even something as much as having a C-section or artificial insemination, or I mean, and that's the additionals. Like, just the care of these moms, the care for the puppies, like we talked about the X-rays. Why the X-rays are so important is because you want to know. I mean, so you're expecting, what would this be, number 7?
Yeah, expecting number 7, which we were expecting to have 7.
Right, which you could go in this blind, but okay, so it is about 120 right now, and so your last puppy was at 12:45. So not that long ago, but let's just say she went another couple hours, didn't have a puppy. You could say, or just think naturally, oh, she's done. Great. We have a litter of 6. not knowing that there is still one in there. So could there be a problem? Could you just be waiting for that next one? And then you could get up, leave, go take a well-deserved nap, as you have not been able to sleep very well here for the last night. And then do you have a situation where a puppy doesn't make it or something happens because you weren't expecting it? And so it is very important. There's a lot of things that really go into this. Even just watching these contractions, it's
I know you can see it
thing.
in her face. Like, look at how concentrated she is. She's just like, she has all of her little babies all in, like, just between her front and her back legs. Like, they're all super content. She's laying here. You can just see the concentration on her face right now. And I see the little feet coming. I can see it's in the sack, which is always a good sign.
We're going to try to talk through this the best we can here.
Yeah. And so every time she contracts, I can see a little bit more. And then once the contraction lets up, it sucks that puppy in the bag back in. But here I can see 2 feet.
So I can't see anything because I'm up by her head. I'm trying to not be distracting.
Yeah. One thing I think that we never talk about this, which I didn't think about it even until I had Brock and Clyde at the vet the other day, but we never even talk about what kind of, it's not really insurance, but what kind of a backup do we have, that a lot of people don't even think about, but we have our semen collected and stored at the vet, and people don't really realize maybe what that means. But when we have these amazing dogs, you want to make sure that in case anything were to happen, that you're still able to carry on those lines. And the way that we can ensure that we're able to do that is by semen collection. And then we keep it frozen and stored at the vet, and I think some people don't even realize that maybe it's a thing, or that you can do that, or that it's how important it really is to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that as our dogs are our family, right? They're in the house with us. They're every single day. They're a huge part of our lives, but they are dogs. And as much as you hate to say it, I believe their only fault is that they don't live long enough. And so when you look at that, it's like, okay, so we have
good girl,
a bigger
good girl. All right, here
there
we
you
go. We had the hind legs first. I'm helping pull it out. I'm breaking open the sac to make sure that the puppy doesn't get any fluid in its lungs. And then I am facing the puppy down. Did you hear that little squeal? I'm facing the puppy down, and head is downward. The reason being, do you see all of that fluid coming out of its mouth and its nose? It's important that does not go back into the puppy's lungs. Now, Daphne, I did let her eat that placenta only because this is puppy number 7. She has only eaten one other placenta. And the placenta is actually good for them. It does have some good nutrients for these mamas. But any more than 2, I really don't like them to eat. Otherwise, they can get some major diarrhea, which no one wants to deal with. But now this puppy, you can see the puppy is a little limp, but because it let out that squeal, I am not concerned. I'm just going to unroll some paper towel here.
And doing this all with their podcast equipment on. I mean, this is very impressive.
I know, you should be taking a picture here. Okay, so now I'm just going to, rub this puppy down a little vigorously, because I want to get those lungs working. And she's had all big puppies. So in my first note, I said it was a big puppy, and they've all been big puppies. So we had a little black male, so a little mini bud. And the puppy is alive and well and healthy, and you can't ask for anything more than that.
Oh my gosh.
So what I'm going to do now is, because I think it's really important, although I stimulated the puppy, I think it's so important that you let the mama stimulate the puppy. And then once she's stimulated the puppy, which usually entails her stimulating them to make them go to the bathroom. Once she has done that, once she feels that she's done, then I'm going to put the puppy close to a teat and make sure that it starts nursing right away.
So you did so much there that I know it's just autopilot for you, but it's so incredible how. So when you took that puppy, you broke that sac open. Even again, just you talked a little bit how you hold the puppy and why you hold the puppy. I mean, stuff that could be so taken for granted. But then you use a forceps to close off the umbilical cord.
Yep, clamp the umbilical cord.
Yep.
And then I cut it, and I let Daff eat that placenta.
And so you're clamping the umbilical cord to
stop the blood flow.
Perfect.
Yep.
It's so and now watching Daphne now. I mean, she's just like lick. She's really trying to stimulate that puppy and clean the puppy off, but also kind of jumpstart the life, if you will, in that puppy. Get those bowels moving, get the senses kind of moving. It is an absolutely incredible thing to watch this. And then the motherly instinct. I mean, just how she gravitates right to that puppy. She's got, all the other puppies that each one she's come out, she's checked, she knows that they're doing well. And now this new one is now in with the others, but she has just zeroed in on that one puppy, making sure that this one's okay too. It's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, it's actually incredible. So I'm going to take the puppy. She's good. I'm going to take the puppy now, and what I'm going to do, it's so important to make sure that when you're watching these little babies nurse for the first time, it's important you know what you're doing because like the puppies need the teats, and what that does is it helps work the milk down and have a milk drop for these puppies. And so when I put this puppy up, if its front paws are not up, if it's down by their sides, the puppy more than likely won't nurse. It's just a natural instinct that they want their paws up, being able to knead that bag. And then I'm going to watch and see how they suckle onto this teat. And what you want to see is out of the corner of that puppy's mouth, you want to be able to see the sides of the tongue. That way you know that there's a good suction. Now, sometimes if there's not a good suction right away, there's a couple reasons. And the main reason would be that there's just still fluid in those lungs. Sorry, I'm like getting out of breath here.
You stay focused.
And then the other reason would be maybe a cleft palate. If a puppy wants to suckle really bad, but they can't get that suction, that's when you got to look at the roof of their mouth, make sure that it's completely enclosed. And this puppy is doing a great job. I like to assist it just a little bit, make sure that they get some colostrum in their belly right away because mama has colostrum right now, not milk. That milk will come in a day or two. The colostrum helps that puppy get a lot of stuff to build up their immune system and a lot of important vitamins for them these first couple days. And
Whitney's literally talking you through this as she has now officially brought a life into this world.
Yes.
And is in the zone here as she is making sure that this puppy is everything that it needs to be.
Yeah.
Which that health side of this is very, very important because you want to identify these things early if there's anything that is wrong. Like that cleft palate is kind of a very sad but a little bit of a nightmare situation because there's nothing you can really do to close that roof of their mouth up. But it looks like everything is going well. I'm trying to read Whitney the best I can. She's very focused in on what's going on here.
Yeah, it's going really well. This is a big puppy. What did I say it was? I don't even remember. Black female? Oh, black male. Because they said it was a mini bud.
Yeah, mini bud.
Yeah, this the reason I'm paying close attention is because it latches and then it unlatches and it latches and then it unlatches. So I just want to make sure that he's filling his belly right away, which he's doing a great job. And then the other hard part is that, of course, Daphne wants to keep coming back and checking on him. So I just put, 3 puppies in front of her to be like, here, look at these guys. Let me deal with this one for a second.
Right.
But no, he's doing great.
I wish I could bring all of you in here just to witness. It I know it's easy, for you to appreciate and understand it with, but for someone that doesn't get to see this, it is nothing short of incredible. I mean, just to watch this process and watch these puppies be born, and then we get the pleasure of watching them grow up for the next 7-8 weeks, and then I get the pleasure then to see them periodically throughout their life as they come in for training. And what's fun for me is especially when you get a dog that an owner is committed all the way through advanced. Maybe they want to do hunt tests. Maybe they want to I get to sit at the end of the rainbow and say, here you are with your hunting retriever champion title, all your ribbons, all your accomplishments, all your hunting stories, and I was literally there watch you come into this world. That is incredible. I mean, it's really something I try not to take for granted, but really, really neat. So So you feel good about the puppy?
I feel good about the puppy. I'm just over here now at my little worksheet. I'm going to write down what time the puppy was born, which it's been a couple minutes. I'm going to say 1:28 p.m. Black male. She ate this placenta, and the puppy nursed, so I can put a check mark over there. And I don't have any additional notes to put on that one. Everything went really smooth.
That's awesome.
So now, next steps is I'm just going to keep watching Daphne here. Although we think she's done. You never know. I mean, there could have been an extra one in there, but the vet was pretty confident with the 7. But what I'm going to do is just watch her, keep watching all of her puppies, make sure that last one gets some milk in its belly, and then I flip the page to my weight chart. And so I'm going to collar all of the puppies, so they all have their own individual puppy collar, newborn puppy collar that I put on them, and then I weigh all of them. And then for these this first week, I'm going to weigh them morning and evening to make sure they're all gaining the proper weight that they need to grow.
I think the collar color is really important because that's how you track, right? That's how you track who's gaining weight, who isn't gaining weight, who is everyone healthy. If there is something you find, you can identify that one puppy. Yeah. Really interesting because ironically enough, a bunch of little black puppies look like a bunch of little black puppies. It's really hard to tell them apart. Yeah. Yellows too, but sometimes you have a little bit of variation. With the shading of the yellow, you can tell a little bit better. But yeah, it's really interesting to to watch, and just I just cannot get over watching Daphne check out every one of those puppies, making sure everyone is healthy, everybody's happy. That motherly instinct, and this is her first litter, right?
This is her very first litter.
It's amazing.
It is truly amazing. And it's funny because, she's licking their butts, and it's because these puppies, they can't stimulate themselves to go to the bathroom yet. And so she just instinctively knows that she has to do that job for them.
Well, I appreciate you jumping in here. We've taken up over a half hour of your time. I appreciate you. I know you have a lot of work yet to do, but I thought this was a really kind of a fun, literal live look in as you go through and this literal puppy. So excuse me. I had something.
Josh is all choked up at how
beautiful. Something like that. So thank you. If everybody wants to follow along with this litter, where do they go?
They go to our Instagram page, the Riverstone Kennels Instagram page. And if you won't know when this is being dropped on Duck Dogs, but they're gonna. You can follow along for the next 7 to 8 weeks with these little bundles.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And if you have not done it yet, go check out Retriever Roadmap. We're getting some awesome initial feedback from people that are getting on there. If you want any guidance, help, a program to help you at home, work with your dog, help you achieve your goals with your dog, go check that out. It's a great program. It took me years to put that thing together. I think you'll really enjoy it. So www.retrieverroadmap.com. And thank you guys for spending this week with me. We're gonna take care of our new little bundles of joy here. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.